things up of the flipping of the axis, like it has done well over 150 times in the past few million years.
Sure, and we're overdue. Yeah.
Do you?
Plate shift may well be part of that.
Oh, okay, sure it would be, right.
And we're getting all kinds of indication that indeed a magnetic pole shift is imminent, but that's a geological imminent, so who knows actually how many years or days or weeks or whatever. But all of a sudden there's radiative anomalies appearing off the coast of Brazil, which is kind of like, it's too bad, I'm going to lose a bet, because I was betting that South Africa would be the new South Pole. Now it looks like it's going to be off the coast of Brazil.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How do you determine that?
Initially, I thought, well, that we had a period of time there where you may have picked up reports of weird electrical discharges coming out of Sicily. In that area,
yes.
Whole villages where they had to flee their microwaves and their toasters tried to bite them in the butt as they ran out of the house.
And fires spontaneously. Yes, right, I do.
Okay, and arcing all over. That was a result of an electrical anomaly appearing, which was related to a magnetic anomaly, which I think was a never quite manifested South Pole. And it's like, well, it's kind of an odd concept the first time you come across it, but recently in the year 2000, our sun flipped its north and south poles. And
which it does periodically.
Correct.
Yeah.
And in the process, it's not like a magnet where you just sit there and you spin the magnet on the floor and all of a sudden the North Pole is facing you, whereas before it was the South. In the sun, it sort of dithered around and it created a bunch of North Poles and got rid of them all and then only had a South Pole for a while and then gave it itself another South Pole and so on. And it was a little bit chaotic. And then it just kind of settled down after it got its pole swapping business done.
Yeah.
It took about 3 months. Here on Earth, we've had a situation for a number of months, maybe 9 or 10 now, where there have been 17, 18, 20 South Poles, all clustered around Johannesburg in that area, plus, of course, the big one down in Antarctica.
Really?
Yeah, and there were little South Poles, but they behaved in all ways as a regular South Pole for a magnet and appeared to be altering, to a certain extent, the local interaction of the Earth and the magnetosphere. Behaving, if you will, as a regular kind of a South Pole, trying to suck in energy and create itself as a big South Pole. And those apparently have reduced to the point where they're not even measurable mostly now, but we've got a new radiative anomaly in a large scale that's appearing off of the bulge of Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean.
What do you think that means and what...
The way in which the anomaly is shaping up is giving all kinds of indication that it may be a very large occurrence of a new South Pole forming.
But
we'll know shortly, I would think, probably by December or January.
Now,
it'll
wait a
either
minute.
strengthen and form into one of these kinds of places that existed in South Africa, or it'll go away.
Yeah, but Cliff, wait a minute. That really would fit into the time period of this devastating event.
Certainly.
I mean, we would
lose all kinds of freak out. I mean, it would raise some serious emotional issues. Yes.
Well, and it's if the Earth literally flips as it normally does in the past.
Well, but are you talking magnetic or crustal? There's a difference.
Oh, well, okay, that's true. You're saying magnetic.
Correct. At this stage, that's all we've got is magnetic.
Okay. Would the Earth have to shift on its axis to match up the magnetic pole?
No. It may, if there's, if centrifugal force and relative weights of accumulating ice and all this kind of stuff actually matter. It may do so, but I don't know that there's any rule that said it has to.
Because right now the North, well, it's not due north, is it? I mean, they are a little off-center.
Correct, and it wobbles all over anyway. It wanders.
Yeah, well, we have, Chandler's wobble, which help in the plates, but that could be a precursor to the actual shifting of the plates, because in order to change your magnetic poles, you have to have some of the magma moving below the surface that's going to create the magnet of Earth itself.
Yes. And of course, it's probably a chaotic process that is not all done in a day and may take months or years to build up to and then months or years to settle down from. And it may never actually be stable. It may be that what we think of stability is just like a day's snapshot in a long period of jitters.
My gosh. Cliff, a lot of people are asking, number one, how they can get some of your your updates, but they can't afford to join your site. And are you going to be on any other radio shows that you know of in the near future, so people can? I mean, because we're getting into some pretty critical times, and I think people are really wanting to be able to stay in touch with you.
Well, I don't know that benefits anybody. Let's answer the things. No, I don't talk to anybody but you. In terms of being on the radio, I'm not inclined to do that. And in terms of the updates, we don't hand them out free or anything. The best thing to do is to go to George Ure's site, because he's got the blabbing gene by nature. He's a reporter, and he can't keep his mouth shut, and he loves to report this stuff, so he'll put it out there.
Oh, I hope he's listening.
Yeah, so do I. Can I ask your indulgence for a second? I'll be right back.
You bet.
Take me just a minute here, okay?
Oh, my gosh, everybody. Yes, please make sure you do keep in touch with Clif by going to George Ure's site. We will have that posted, and you gotta love them. We will have that posted so you can go and get updates. I don't know to what degree we would be allowed to even possibly publish some of Clif's finding on our website, but I truly want to keep in touch with all of you in some way, meaning possibly we can have updates on the website depending on Vinny's schedule, because I can't do it. I can write it, but I can't do it. Vinny has to be the one to put it up there. But we will definitely try to keep it in touch. And I know everybody, we probably have 50 or 60 other questions, and we are running out of time. But I am trying to. Let's see. Diane she says, "Dear Alex, a bladder is a small pocket that holds water. Just the past few weeks, Canada and some of the local states have been complaining of smells coming from the Great Lakes. To me, this may mean a new wave of volcanic activity, maybe in the Great Lakes. What does Clif, think?" Wow. I didn't know that, Diane. Thanks much. As soon as Clif comes back, because he probably has a small pocket in his bladder also. And we will have to find out. You know, not many people can sit
sorry about that.
Hey, that's okay, Clif. I was just talking. Diane just wrote in. I won't say what I said. But she says a bladder is a small pocket that holds water.
No, in this case it was coffee and too much.
I was just laughing, but actually she says, just the past few weeks, Canada and some of the local states have been complaining of smells coming from the Great Lakes.
Oh, no.
To me, this may mean a new wave of volcanic activity, maybe within the Great Lakes, meaning underneath the water. I had not heard that before.
I was unaware of the smells in that area. I've been monitoring them appearing in Russia and Finland.
Interesting.
Scary in Finland, especially.
My gosh, man.
And Canada, for that matter, because these are two areas that are very geologically unique in that the supposition is, anyway, that vast quantities of Canada are like anchored to the very soul of the planet.
Really?
Yeah, whereas the United States, we're on the North American plate. We float around a lot. Well, the thing we float around is Canada.
My.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What could that indicate? I mean,
well, there's the thing. The smell is a really interesting sense. Dogs smell better than humans, have a scent ability to pick things up 20 or 30,000 times better than us, but the range within humans is truly phenomenal.
Really?
A lot of people have virtually, and it may be conditioning, but it could also be genetic, but a lot of people have very little sense of smell. And we find, of course, places that are heavily polluted, this is the case in some cities in Russia, China, etc. But on the whole, even with degraded sensory ability for smell, there are some smells that are apparently so primal that humans are always sensitive to them. And curiously, the smells associated associated with swamp gas or methane or whatever are one of those high up in the nostril smells that don't get degraded or for whatever reason are sustained even in the case of a degraded ability to smell.
Yeah.
It may be because they're a survival factor. And one of the things I was talking about with the plasma expansion model suggests that if you think about it a particular way, it's unlikely for the stresses in an expanding globe to be even everywhere. And so, for instance, we might find that in some areas we would have the planet separate for a little bit, and if that's the case, you know, sort of a momentary crack, stuff could quite literally bubble up in the way of gas.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
So on the Pacific, where it's going to crack and there isn't any real gas because the Pacific plate is so thin relative to the crust, magma can come on up. But thick areas of really richly mineraled rock, like Finland and Canada, undoubtedly have large areas of smell-type gas trapped in them.
Oh, sure. My gosh, yeah. Boy, oh boy, that's...
So it implies there's some level of geological shaking up going on, regardless of what the specific case actually is.
Do you, Cliff, see any enormous changes because of the shifting and the volcanic activity? Possibly. I mean,
I think we're in a, let's put it the other way.
Yeah.
I think those are mere symptoms, and I think the symptoms are going to get a lot worse. I have no real sure and certain knowledge that any human alive now will survive the coming 7 to 10 years. I suspect that a great many of us will not. I also suspect that the process is irrevocable, unalterable, and that the stuff we see as Earth changes, we really ought to be characterizing as merely our little local neighborhood's response to the changes within solar system. So there's going to be a lot of problems resulting from earthquakes that will just scale on up beyond our understanding. There's a lot of weird ripples here, too, because if you think about it, we need to be making some very appropriate decisions as a species right now. Within it as a species, as the American subset, we need to be making appropriate decisions such as not employing third world contractors to rebuild our Gulf Coast. Why? Well, we don't want to rebuild a third world construction code system down there when it's going to be hit repeatedly by events that are bigger than what have already happened.
Is that what's going on?
If we want to have survival.
Is that what's going on? We're bringing in construction crews?
Oh, man, it's horrific. They're firing American workers and having them in their last days train the illegals to do their job, and they're paying the illegals a fraction. Now, let's be very clear here. I'm not against Mexicans coming in and doing work in the United States. I want everybody to be happy where they're at so they don't go anywhere. But my approach is the Buckminster-Fuller approach is let's set a global wage that is fair. Let's base it on what a machinist gets, so that a machinist in Hong Kong makes the same as a machinist in Guangzhou, who makes the same as a machinist in Houston. And from there we can build up a global living wage. But we've got to get rid of corporations and the evil that they represent in order to do so. However, the planet may take care of that for us. But let's get back to our specifics.
Jeez,
right now we've got people that have no understanding of English,